Why two honed mine? Uh, two honed mine because they're more efficient than masterful. That's why. Um, I did the calculations. How long ago did I do them? I must have did it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Um, but what I essentially did is I took all the percentages and how much mastery you would gain for a rank 3 masterful versus a honed mine rank 3. And what the calculation came out to is once you have about like 65 to 70% mastery, uh, the amount of total mastery you get over a long period of time is higher with Hone Mine Rank 3 than it is with Masterful for the same amount of corruption efficiency, right? So let me try and explain. Let's see. Do I have slash RT? Where is the drawing tool here? Visual note. Can I draw on this? Yeah, I can. All right. Let me just see if I have draw. All right. All right. So, oh, because people always ask about this, so I'll go over it anyways. All right. So, what is our base mastery right now? This is always the hardest to figure out. So let's get out a quick calculator. So we currently have, what is this, 31, 34. We currently have, what is this, 60. We have 63 bonus, percentage bonus mastery. So let me just do some quick math here. So what is this? Oh, my guess was almost correct the first time. So it's a little less than 2,000. So let's say maybe it's 1,900. It's a bit more. 1950. 1940. 1930. All right, that's close enough. So let's go with 1930 because it's a nice round number. So we'll use 1930 as our base mastery. Um, we can also do one with another mastery ring, but let's do it with this calculations first, right? So let's say you have a gear set like mine. You have 1930 base mastery, which again, this is perfect raid gear, right? So this is every single slot has mastery or high mastery, with the exception of your weapon and your legs. In my case, I have a little more haste than I'd want, so we can replace this eventually, but this is what we have baseline. So, like our wrist, our hands, our waist, our feet, and this ring also has high mastery. So, we're just going to go on this base number, and I'll do additional calculations for the others. So, now let's calculate how much mastery you gain from a Masterful rank 3. That's the easy one, because we're going to have to throw everything out to 100% uptime, right? So to calculate how much you're getting from a masterful 12%, so we'll go 12% M. First, you take the base amount, so you do 1930 times 0.12, and you'll see that that's 231.6. We'll go 231.6. Now you have to add Avenger's Might. So Avenger's Might gives you, since we have two of them, it's 895 plus, what is this, 870. So that's 895 plus 870, which is 1765. But now what you have to do with the 1765 is you have to think, okay, what's my wings up time? In a dungeon, it's generally about 45%. So we'll do 1765 times 0.45. That is 794. Now you times that by 0.12, 95. Right? So that's the uptime you get from your Azurite traits, because you have to remember that you are gaining that 12% bonus from your Azurite traits. I feel like I did something wrong, so let me double check those calculations quickly. No, they look correct. All right. So let's see. So we have 231.6 from our base. We have about 95. What was it exactly? 95.3. We have 95.3 from our wings. There's still more. So our weapon, we have the Masterful Navigation, right? Uh, we're going to average that out to say it's about uh, 25 to 30% uptime on about like 200 to 250 mastery. What I used before for those numbers. Honestly, the 5 isn't going to be the biggest difference. We're talking of about a much bigger difference of 5. So let's say it's, let's highball it. Let's say it's like a 30% uptime for 200 mastery. Let's go something like that. So 200 times 0.3, you're looking at 60, and then you take 12% of that, so times 0.12, you're looking at 7.2. So let's just call it, let's call it 7.1. That way we have a nice even number here. Anything else? Let's add Elemental Whirl. I think that's our last additional run, right? So you have Elemental Whirl has a 10% chance because it's a 40% uptime. Each buff has an average of about 10%, right? So Elemental Whirl gives you 369. So we'll do 369 times 0.1 times 0.12. And that's another 4.4. Let's call this one 7.2, actually. We'll keep it consistent. So this is all of the totals that you get when you add up the 12% masterful value, right? You got your base, which of course we'll calculate this out again for different amounts of mastery. This is what I have specifically with this build right now. You will of course have more if you put on a second mastery ring, and also a mastery trinket, right? But we'll start with this. So this is everything. This is your weapon proc. This is your elemental whirl. This is your Avenger's Might, scaled down to the uptime of wings, and it's your base. So when you add all these up, you get the effective value with 100% uptime of what a 12% masterful is worth to you. So you add these up. So 231.6 plus 95.3 plus 7.2 plus 4.4. And you get a nice number of 338.5. So that's the exact amount worth. And this is in terms of mastery. So throughout an entire dungeon run, right? You're getting effectively 338.5 mastery from 112% masterful. We'll do Honed Mind next. Why don't you use the Underrod Trinket? I do plan on using the Underrot trinket um, once I put on my other ring. Also, I am missing a socket. That's the other reason. Um, right now, because I don't run any ineffable truth right now, I would run the mastery trinket. The main reason is I have a humming black dragon scale that is currently 475 with a socket. I believe the 475 with a socket is just a tad bit better than the 465 without a socket because you're losing the 10 item levels and you're also losing the socket. Once I do have the socket in the vial, I guarantee it will be better. So that's just for right now. Also, because I've been playing around with my haste. That's the short version. But once I have an additional socket or two, which I should by next week, I will probably be running the other trinket. So that's why I'm not currently running it. And that's also why my first change, once I get the Honed Mind rank 3 tomorrow, is I'm going to put a socket on. I'm going to be putting a socket on this ring over here that also has avoidance. All right. So back to where we were. So 112% mastery gives you 338.5. All right, now let's look at Honed Mind, right? So you look at Honed R3. So to get Honed Mind R3, and this calculation is a little easier than the other because there's less variables. We have to scale it out to the 100%. So we have to know that Honed Mind is about a 40 to 45% uptime. And then we have to add the Masterfuls. So we're going to say assume uh, 60 to 70 60 to 70% of M. So this is essentially saying we have 5 or 6 rank 3 Masterfuls. We'll do the calculation of both, right? So Honed Mind rank 3, you can look right here. It gives 915 mastery for 10 seconds. The total uptime is somewhere between 40 to 50%. So first, let's add to the total of that, and then let's subtract out the percentage, right? So let's take a look. So we have 915, and then we're going to multiply that by 1.6 for the minimum and 1.7 for the max. So we're looking at 1464 to, we'll go to 1.72 to 1573. And now we have to calculate the uptime, right? So we're looking at somewhere between 40 to 50%. So let's go for the lower one first. So 1464 times 0.4. You're looking at 585. 585 to 658. And then if you go with the higher end, but you could already see this is way higher. You can look at 1573 times 0.4. You're looking at 629 to 707. And there you have it. What we're calculating for everyone, because everyone keeps on asking me, is whether Honed Mind rank 3 or a 12% mastery is more efficient. So there's one more calculation to do. Obviously, these are not the same amounts of corruption, right? This one is 35, this one's 20. So that's what we have left. So far we added everything up for a 12% masterful. You have it at 338.5. But obviously that's for 20 corruption. For Honed Mind rank 3, which we said is either 1464 to 1573, that's assuming somewhere between 5, essentially the 60 to 72. That's a bad one. Where is the eraser here? Is the eraser? That's not the eraser. I'm really bad with this. Anyhow, where was I? Sorry, I keep on getting sidetracked. So assuming 5 or 6. So like for instance, I would fall somewhere in the middle right now because this current setup has 63%. So it'd be probably somewhere between these two numbers. So this is 1464 to 1573, which is somewhere between 60 and 72% worth of mastery. So that's somewhere between 5 masterful rank 3s and 6 masterful rank 3s. And then what these numbers are is we're trying to calculate it out to 100%, right? So essentially we're saying we know for a fact that this is only going to be about a 40 to 50% uptime. So that's what the variations are here. So the variations on this lower number is 585 to 658. The variations on the higher number here is 629 to 707. Again, that's based on a 40 to 45% uptime on Honed Mind. All right, so we have a bunch of numbers now. Now all that's left to do is change this number. So this is based on 20 corruption. So we'll call that 20C. This one is obviously 35. 35C. This one will always be consistent. You'll always get the same amounts. The RNG really comes from, how much wings up times you have, and, obviously this is the weapon proc, and this is the elemental world proc, etc., etc. But let's add that up. So, what is 35? So you go 30 divided by 20, or 35 divided by 20, that's 1.75 times higher, right? So you add 1.75 to the lower one. So you go 338.5 times 1.75. So what we're doing is we're scaling it up to the higher amount, right? Everyone's still following? So you scale that up, you say at 35C, this is starting to look like my how math in college looked, right? This looks like napkin math, right? So you're now at 592.3. We'll just call this 0.4 because it will round a bit. So that's the final calculation. So now when you look at this, you can say, okay, in terms of corruption efficiency, we've now calculated everything out. We've said, okay, now they're worth the same amount of corruption. They're worth the same amount of uptime. We're calculating out to 100%, etc., etc. At any point, assuming this build, the worth of a Masterful rank 3, regardless of how many Masterful rank 3s you have, is roughly about 592.4 in terms of comparing with a Honed Mind rank 3. Obviously, it's actually worth 338.5 on its own, but we need a comparison between the two, right? So when you scale it up from 20 corruption to 35 corruption, you're looking at 592.4 Now, when you look over at the Honed Mind, which is obviously the one that's way more easy to calculate, you're looking at, on the very minimum, somewhere between 585 to 658, and that's the 40 to 45% uptime, and that's on the lower end, assuming 5, right? So that's the 60%. But if you go up to the 72%, you're looking at 629 to 707. So essentially, long story short, what I'm telling you here is, if you have 60% bonus mastery, so that's 5 rank 3 masterfuls, it is more efficient on average. Because, say we go in between this, say rather than 40 to 45% uptime, we're going to call it like a 42 or 43% uptime. You'd be looking, you can average these out, you're looking at 620 to 630. That means at a 60%, it would be roughly about, on average, 7 to 8% more efficient to run a Honed Mind rank 3. If you're looking at the higher amount, so say 6 Masterful rank 3s, then all of a sudden it's way, way bigger. You average these out, you average out the 630 and the 707. You're looking at about 670 on average. Now all of a sudden you're talking about 13, 14% more efficient. Long story short, you do all these calculations like I do, you can come to a very clear number that says, okay, once you get to somewhere between 5 and 6 Masterful rank 3s, running a Honed Mind rank 3 is just simply more efficient. Now, there's one other thing to keep in mind. Or actually, two. Sorry. First thing is, we can add more mastery to this build, right? Like I said, I can add another 500 as a baseline. That will increase this number a good bit. So that'll make this more efficient. However, there's one counter to that. And that's that we only have 8 slots, right? Because we only have 8 slots, the absolute maximum amount of corruption you can run with Masterful rank 3 in terms of efficiency would be 8 of them, right? With 8 of them, you have 160 corruption, which as of right now, you can run all 8. However, we're going to keep on gaining more corruption resistance, right? A matter of fact, we currently have 92 corruption resist on our cloak. You're going to be getting exactly another 33 more. And that's where this efficiency really starts testing its limits. And that's why my final build is going to have 6 Masterful rank 3s and 2 rank 3 Honed Mind. Because simply put, Honed Mind is going to be slightly more efficient than this mastery, or in this case of having 6, you're looking at the 72%, which you're looking at this higher one, and you're looking at that like 14% more efficient, right? It's going to be more efficient, and it's also going to fill up your corruption. So that's the calculations. That's a really, really long explanation. But if your raid leader ever asks you, or someone ever asks you, this is the actual math behind it. And I can guarantee you with 100% accuracy that this math is accurate. Now there's some changes that we can make to this. You can say, oh wait, but what happened if I have a slightly different build? That's very easy. So this number right here, this first one, I'm circling, this 231.6, that's the number that you change based on how much mastery. So we said that we have, as a baseline, we have 1930 mastery. So most of you who probably don't have perfect mastery on almost all your gear, you might have less than this. And then some of you who are currently running like 110, 120% mastery, you might have more than this. So this number is going to change. If you don't have as much mastery than me, then this 12% masterful is going to be even less efficient. Because obviously the biggest number here is coming from your base mastery. So this might look something like 300, which in case this one would look something like 500 for you. Which means this Honed Mind rank 3, if you're less geared, this one all of a sudden becomes way more efficient. Now, if you have that perfect gear, so let's say we add in this additional ring, right, which is going to be another 380 mastery, and then we add in this other trinket here, which is going to be another 280. Now that might change things. That's going to make mastery more efficient. So let's do the number on that. So let's say we add in this ring. For easy sake, let's just say we add 380. So we'll do 1930 plus 380. We're looking at 2310. And now to get this number, it's really easy. You go 2310 times 0.12, and you're looking at 277. So the number on this one would be 277. And then if you also add in a trinket, which some of you will ask to do as well, you can do that too. So you go to 2310 plus another, what is it, 290? Yeah, or sorry, what is it, 233, 283 plus 283. You're looking at 2593. 2593 times 0.12. You're looking at 312. So the 2593, that version you'd be looking at 311. So now you can see how that number might change a bit. So if you're running the ridiculous amount of mastery, then all of a sudden Masterful becomes even more efficient and you're going to want more of it. So let's see. Do we still have... yeah, we do have it here. All right. So back to this. So let's say you have both rings, right? So you go up to the 2310, you're looking at 277. So you're going to replace the 231 with 277. It's going to be 44 more. This all of a sudden is now looking at 382.5, which means when you add the 0.75 more to the difference of 44, what is that? 44 times 1.75 is 77. So when you add the 77, all of a sudden this 592 goes up to 592 plus 77. You're looking at 669. So this one, we'll call it 669 when you look at them together. When you add in the vial as well, that's where Masterful is just going to completely overtake, because now we're looking at another 40 something on top of that. So let's do, this is a difference of, what is this? 80? Yeah, 80. So 80 times 1.75 is 140. So 338 plus 140. Or sorry, not 338. You're looking at 592 plus 140. You're looking at 732. So there's all the numbers. It really looks like napkin math now. Really, really looks like napkin math. Long story short, if you have the current setup I have, 1930, running any amount of Honed Mind, whether it be rank 3 or rank 2, it doesn't matter, the Honed Mind is more efficient. To be exact, with this exact setup, we are somewhere around the 650 area, because we have something between these two, actually. We have 63%. So you'd be looking at about 650 ish average, uh, somewhere around there. Which means with this current one, it's about 10% more efficient for us to run Honed Mind Rank 3 and Honed Mind Rank 2. Now, once we put the ring on, so specifically this ring, which we're probably going to put on in a couple days, this will catch up because this will now be 669. And like I said, the Hone Mine, we're somewhere around like the 650, 660 range. So they would be about the same. I'm going to be replacing this Lurker Schemer band with this one. However, I may not go the full 380 mastery. I might end up doing double haste because I want to keep around 20%. Um, so we're either going to do like haste enchant, gem, gem mastery, something like that. So this is going to be a little lower. This is going to be like 665. But long story short, they're going to be about the same.